Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to D-Rob's Weekly Picks. I'm going to implement a little late season strategy here. I know I always talk about how it's not time to get desperate. Well, it's time for me to get desperate, and I'm going to base my strategy around beating Joe. I'm going to play a lot of odd games, maybe do things that I don't think are right, see how it works out, and also try and get into Joe's head and figure out what he might play so that I can play the opposite way and, make up some critical ground. I've got 6 weeks left, way down, so I got to throw Hail Marys, do whatever I have to do. Like the great Herm Edwards say, what would Herm Edwards say? You play to win the game. Big win for Herm today, too, by the way. That was nice. I like that. NBA corner this week, we're going to keep it quick. I just want to look at a couple teams. I like the Mavericks this year. I love their fitness. We're 15 games in, pretty much, approximately, across the league. Luka Doncic is the league MVP right now. He's 20 years old. He's putting up 30, 10, and 10 a night, and just controlling the game. It's amazing. You need to watch a Mavericks game and see what the guy is doing. Porzingis really isn't that good yet. I mean, he's still kind of looking a little iffy on the surgery that he had. He's not playing at 100%. You can tell he's a little tentative here and there, but Luka's really that good. I liked his rookie season, but what he's done so far to start off this year is just, it's unreal. The guy's 20 years old, 6'7", point guard that's averaging 30, 10, and 10. So give him a look when you can. Mavericks are at 10 and 5, something like that. But I mean, they're a fun team to watch. I give them a look. The Lakers are working. They got the old guys out there with LeBron, and AD's not that old, but LeBron is. You have to appreciate this about a LeBron, that you can see that he's lost a step or two, but now he's just going to be the best point guard in the NBA. He's leading the league in assists. Obviously, that's a little bit easier when you have Anthony Davis on your team, but I mean, really, he has stepped it back, and he can still pump it up here and there. But I think the Lakers are a team that they really should look to that load management thing, and I don't think you got to wear out AD and LeBron. I think you definitely want to focus on them being healthy in the playoffs. So load management for the Lakers probably a good idea. It doesn't have to be. AD's got a shoulder thing that he's kind of iffy about. How many games do the Lakers really need to win? Get them into the playoffs as a fifth seed, and they're full 100% LeBron, 100% AD. I like that team. I like what LeBron's doing, and I also like kind of off the beaten path. Dwight Howard plays for the Los Angeles Lakers, if you weren't aware. Again, and he's really accepted a role as a bench player. And I think that he's had some sort of renaissance with his career. I mean, he's lost a ton of weight. If you haven't watched a Lakers game yet, Dwight Howard is skinny now. He's thin. He looks like a Kenyan long distance runner, except for he's 7 foot tall. He plays about 20 minutes a night. Puts up, gets rebounds, gets blocks. Puts up his 8 points or whatever. Runs the floor like a gazelle, and really just makes it. And he's an intelligent defensive basketball player, which I really like. I think he comes in and he really solidifies that defense for the Lakers when he comes into the game. A lot of the teams you think are good. The Clips are good. Boston's been kind of sneaky good, even though they're getting injured all over the place. Kemba Walker had a scary injury last night. Ran his head into one of his own teammates. Stretcher on the floor, all that stuff. But it looks like things are going to be all right with him. Gordon Hayward already broke his hand. Gordon Hayward was looking like Gordon Hayward again, after that terrible leg injury he had 2 seasons ago. He came back last year, and he just didn't look right. And this year he's looked right, and then he breaks his hand on kind of a freak injury, just trying to fight through a strain. Hopefully he'll be back. And the Celtics can make some noise this year, too. I mean, in Toronto, the Raptors... The Raptors are trying to defend their title without Kawhi. It's fun. I mean, Pascal Siakam very well may become the first player in NBA history to win back-to-back Most Improved Player awards, because he's playing at an MVP type level where maybe he'll get some votes for the MVP. But I mean, he's the man. He's not just good, maybe borderline all-star. I mean, he's the man. He's a top 10 NBA player, so he could win Most Improved Player again this year, and I'd be totally fine with that. One quick thing I think is very interesting. I've always kind of been, we don't. I don't think any of us really like change, especially when you get older. Like, I like the way things are. The NBA's always kind of flirted with this idea of maybe like we're just going to have the top 16 teams make the playoffs, or we're going to do this mid-season tournament, or we're going to do whatever. We're going to change things up. And, okay, fine, whatever. But an idea that's been floated that I think actually is going to happen in the 21-22 season is that we're going to still have 8 teams from each conference make the playoffs. But once we get down to our final 4 teams, so after the conference semifinals, once we get to what we would usually call the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, we're going to reseed those 4 teams and have 1 play 4 and 2 play 3, which is great for me. I like this idea. I think this is an excellent idea. I think it could have changed a lot of NBA history. Last year, the Milwaukee Bucks, who won 60 games, would have played the Portland Trailblazers in the NBA semifinals, and presumably made the NBA Finals. And I think it'll put more emphasis on these top-tier teams trying to win more games. So I really like that idea. I can be on board with that. With my reluctance to change, I think that's an idea that is really reasonable. I like where the NBA is going there. That's all I have with NBA Corner this week. Real quick, memory lane this week. I'm going to talk about Tim Blankenship for a hot second. For those of you who don't know, Tim Blankenship was Brent Hayes' father, and he passed away earlier this week. Actually attended his funeral this morning, and he's just a great guy. A very healthy man, didn't drink and smoke, went for a run every morning, rollerbladed all over the place, and he actually stood up in my wedding in place of Brent, which I thought was really, really honorable of him, and he got into it, and gave me a great photo and a plaque that day. And today I went to his funeral, and funerals always kind of they're tough to go to, but one of the people that spoke, I think his daughter Bev spoke and mentioned something about how he was super intense, even playing recreation hoops, and I totally had forgotten about this, but after I graduated high school, that fall, I played in a rec basketball league with like Brent Hayes, his father Tim, I think Rocky Bisbee. We had a bunch of vagabonds that played rec YMCA basketball or whatever we played. Shelby Rec, I think is what it was called. And Tim was like not the most athletically inclined. He was the best at exercising. And so we'd get on the basketball floor, and he was very awkward and, weird. And he would yell, when you have a rec league, like basketball rec leagues are refereed by like 16-year-old kids. He would get in these kids' faces and like tease called on him all the time. And when she said that, I was sitting in the funeral and I was laughing to myself. And it was a great memory to think about. We had a lot of fun doing that. Also, I don't know if I've never experienced this before, but Tim was an Air Force veteran, and they actually had 2 members of the Air Force at the funeral today. And they played taps, and they went up to the casket and took the folded flag out of the casket and unfolded it, and they pulled it out and then folded it back up very properly and handed it over to his widow. And I had never seen that before, and that was my tipping point from not crying to crying. And if you've never seen that, it's really something to see. A quick PSA about Nick Vagnetti. Gentlemen, we're all in the same fantasy football league together. I think we're on the brink of something historic here. We have an 0-11 team going into Week 12. And if that team goes 0-12, I do think that there should be something that happens. Now, I've texted Nick about this, and he's definitely giving me some funny responses, but there's got to be something. I mean, I know what happens when you get skunked in euchre, but at the very least, I mean, we need to have a jersey burning or a rescinding of a championship in the past or something. Like, I want to see Gino and Nick either have to run around the house in their whitey tighties or at least show up in like a Halloween costume to a draft next year. 0-12 is something that should be punished, and I think we need to find a right punishment. And that is all for that. Let's move on to the picks. Like I said, I'm going to be implementing a little bit of a hybrid strategy this week. I'm going to be looking at games where Vegas seems to not. I want to be on the Vegas side. Even if it's all the money's on one team and it makes sense, I want to be on the Vegas side because I do feel like this time of the year is where Vegas really makes their hay. They're really honed in, and I'm going to be on the Vegas side, and also I'm going to look at some things that I think Joe might do and play the opposite of that. So let's look at the games that I don't pick first. We'll go to Cleveland hosting Miami. Both teams kind of headed in the right direction outside of that Myles Garrett incident. Yeah, I'll talk about it real quick. Obviously, that was just it was a really bizarre incident, and I think it's kind of something I'm surprised doesn't happen more often in such a violent sport. But obviously, the NFL has gotten that out of it with fines, penalties, and things like that. But Garrett does this crazy stuff where he goes down the ground, and it's definitely intense, and he's got the helmet and all that stuff. And then he does his appeal, and he says that he was called a racial slur all of a sudden, which I don't know if he was or if he wasn't, but, I know in this day and age and technology, there's microphones everywhere. I would think that they'd be able to find something like that. And furthermore, even if he was called some sort of racial slur, which I know is terrible, we're not supposed to do that, especially in 2019. But, if I am walking down the street and I happen to say something to a minority or a homosexual or whatever you want to say, and they take something as dangerous as a football helmet and start trying to beat me over the head with it, I would think that they would be the one in more trouble than me. So I don't think that it is a very viable defense for Mr. Garrett. Now, at the end of the day, I don't think this guy should be banned for life or anything like that. It was obviously a very emotional, violent game that they're playing already, so you should expect things like this to happen. And I would think that a suspension for the rest of the season is fine by me. Anyways, Cleveland hosting Miami. Both teams headed in the right direction, though, overall. Both kind of turning the corner. Miami is having a hard time getting out of their own way of tanking. But I think I would take Cleveland here. That's a big point spread. The line moved from 9 up to 10.5. Even though half the money's still on Miami, I think that Vegas kind of likes the Browns there, so I'd go Browns. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. God bless your soul if you're on this game. It's a pretty square game. Lines moved down from 7 to 6.5. We have it at 6.5. Money's pretty much split. You know what? I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't put any research in that game. I guess I would take Cincinnati just for fun and get some points, even though they're terrible and they're tanking and they're actually being successful at it. We go out to Buffalo. This is actually kind of a fun game. I'm looking forward to watching Denver at Buffalo. Buffalo laying 4. That line moved down from 5.5 to 3.5, despite pretty much even split on the money. So I think that Vegas is guarding themselves a little bit there. But the Broncos, gosh, last week I don't know. Last week that's a tough loss to take. So it's spread down to 3.5. I think we have it at 4. I think that the Bills are undervalued as a 7-3 team. I've never seen a more maligned 7-3 team in my life, and I would go Bills there just because I think they're undervalued, despite I know that their wins aren't that impressive. We will go to the Meadowlands where the Jets are hosting the Oakland Raiders. And really a very square game, 50-50 money. This line is just hung at 3 all week. I'll just take the better team there. I'm going to go with the Oakland Raiders. I think that they're playing for something. They're playing for playoff positioning. So I'd go Raiders there if I had to. Down to Atlanta, where the new darlings of the NFL, the Atlanta Falcons, are hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have proper line movement here. The line goes from 3 to 4 off of 58% of the bets or 67% of the bets on the Falcons, 58% of the money. So it's pretty much a who do you like better kind of game. And I was high on the Falcons going into the season. Whatever they've done there with their coaching mishmash, I guess they put everybody's name in a everybody's business card into a little bag, and everybody had to pick. Okay, I'm now the linebackers coach. And it seemed to work. I mean, the defense is playing really well, so I would lean Atlanta there just because I like Atlanta more than Tampa Bay, and I'd never bet on Jameis Winston. Out to Nashville, Tennessee, where the Tennessee Titans are hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. God bless you. If you are into this game, I couldn't find any motivation to look at anything more than the Lions move past that 3-point threshold. We're up to 3.5. Tennessee's laying 3.5. Opened at 2.5. But when we only have 47% of the money is on Tennessee, 65% of the bets, so that would make me kind of lean towards Jacksonville there. We'll see what happens. Not too much to talk about there. Let's get down to some of these fun games, though. We have a lot of good games this week, and we're going to get into them right now. Actually, we'll get this one out of the way. Detroit plays Washington, by the way. Enough said. And everybody's betting on Detroit, which is hilarious. Makes me want to take Washington, but I'm done. I'm not going to deal with the Lions anymore. Let's go out to Philadelphia, where the Eagles are laying 1.5 points, hosting the Seattle Seahawks. And that's kind of confusing to me. I think that Seattle has a better body of work here. This line opened at 3, and it's actually down to 1 now. But I would almost think that line should be on the other side, cross the threshold over to Seattle laying a point. All the money's on Seattle. I would go Seahawks there just because I like Russell Wilson, and I think he's actually the best quarterback in the NFL. But the fact that this game, that spread just doesn't make any sense to me. I think Seattle should be a favorite there. Let's go do the games that I pick. I just realized I actually haven't put my picks in yet. I will after this, though. And I'm going to do a lot of things, like I said. Okay, so we're going to go to Chicago, where the Bears are laying 6 points, hosting the New York Giants. We have all the money on the Giants. 75% of the money is on the Giants. That line's moved from 7 down to 6. Maybe it could move a little bit more. For me to say, okay, it's appropriate line movement. I think that should move more. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Bears there, lay the 6 points. Plug my nose, and it should be a low-scoring game. I think that the Bears can turn Daniel Jones over a little bit here, and maybe I get something like a 24-10 Bears win there at home. We're gonna go down to the Superdome, where we have some reverse line movement. That line opened at Saints -7. It's up to -10, despite 63% of the money, 50% of the bets on the Carolina Panthers. Vegas just definitely doesn't care. Vegas is fine with everybody loading up on the Panthers there. They're going to move the line the other way. So I will go ahead and lay the 9.5 points, take the New Orleans Saints. Definitely a top-tier team in the NFC and ready to make a run. I think that's what Vegas sees, and that's what I see. This is going to be an opposite of Joe bet here. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys plus 6.5. So I think Joe likes the Patriots. And maybe I can pick up some serious ground there. Line opened at 7. It's down to 6. We have it at 6.5. Bets coming in on New England, which is normal. I mean, obviously they're one of the best teams in the last 15 years against the spread, so that makes sense. Coaching matchup definitely is plus New England, but really the offensive weapons is really plus Dallas. So I'm going to go ahead and hope talent wins out there, but I could definitely schematically I could see how the Patriots get the win there. Really, this is a game I'm taking just to try and beat Joe this week. Let's go out to San Francisco, where the 49ers are laying 3 points against Green Bay Packers. And real quick, let's take a look back to last week. And I mean, really, Riddick boys, you have a little bit more experience with this, being in Vegas and how things work out. But the end of that Niners game last week was pretty abhorrent how that was officiated. There's no way the Niners should have gotten a defensive touchdown in the last second there. I mean, it was clear to me on my couch, watching TV at 2 o'clock in the morning that wasn't a touchdown. I mean, clearly it was recovered, he was touched and down, and the ball flips this way, and all of a sudden, and we just walk off the field. Even in low-level college basketball, I mean, if we were betting on Liberty playing Creighton on a Tuesday night, and somebody throws in a 3 after the buzzer and they count it, the referees would still go over the scores table and go, that doesn't count, for this particular reason, for point spread betting. And the NFL should really look into doing that, because I know that kind of crossed a threshold there in Vegas that made a lot of people losers. But it's like I said, 55 or 71% of the money is on the Packers this week, catching the 3 points. So, and that game has stayed square at 3 all week. I'm going to go ahead and take the Niners here. Kittle's back this week. Sanders back this week. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the Niners here and lay the 3 points. I think it's kind of contrary, and I like it. I'm going to go with Vegas there as well. Honestly, the Vegas game of the week where everything is on the Baltimore Ravens laying 3 points at the LA Rams, and understandably so. Lamar Jackson, pretty much in the clubhouse with the MVP trophy already. The LA Rams, coming off of a couple of just awful performances. I mean, they won last week, but it was not pretty. The week before was that Pittsburgh game, just not pretty. They haven't had the flash they've had. A lot of doubters out there, and I'm one of them. But we have 80% of the bets, 78% of the money is on the Ravens. So I just say Vegas is going to win, and I'm going to take the LA Rams and give me my 3 points. Gentlemen, hope you're having a wonderful morning. I am on a quick turnaround, work late on Saturday night, early on Sunday morning. So I was putting in work for you fellas tonight. Have a good night and good betting. See you soon.